So I think we are live.
We are live.
Okay, Emily, I'm going to hang up with you then. Hey everyone, I hope that this is working. One of the fun things that has happened with everyone staying at home is all the technology we get to experience and all the hiccups and the opportunities to adapt. So, I see people viewing, so hopefully that means this is working. So thank you guys so much for joining me. My name is Samantha Lane. I'm a proud University of Tennessee alum. I went to UT. It was actually the reason I moved to the state of Tennessee, and I started with pursuing a degree in pre-veterinary studies, only to learn that I'm terrible at science, so shifted to public relations and advertising. So happily got a degree in 2007 from the School of Communication and Information in PR, and I loved that experience. Yay, CCI. So since then, I've done several different things, which now include running a time management business. So what we are going to focus on today is sort of some tips for planning. And so I can see comments coming in. Hey, Christine. Hey, Mark. So if you guys have questions about planning, especially right now with plans constantly changing, that is what I'm hoping to spend the next few minutes helping you with is how do we stay productive in this weird time, and how do we sort of have this balance? I have a long story, too long for our Facebook Live today, but feel free to follow my business, Origami Day. You can follow it on social media at my Origami Day, and you will learn a little bit more about sort of my journey in starting a business about time management. But today, I really want to help you. And what I do every single Friday is I actually have a planning session and I take time to make a plan for the next week. So I thought there's no better way to teach you about time management and sort of troubleshoot some questions and share some tips than going through a sort of a planning session. So that's sort of what we're going to do. So I'm excited and I hope it's helpful. So to get us started, I really encourage people to make this a practice every single Friday. And the reason for that is it's a great way to sort of wrap up the week that we were just in or that we're currently in, and also a really good way to sort of set ourselves up for success in the coming week. I believe in a lot of different industries, follow up is key. So having a bookend planning session on your week is a really good way to sort of go back and wrap up any loose ends. The biggest thing for me too is I used to have the Sunday scaries. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but Sunday night would come around, sometimes Sunday midday, and I would just sort of have this crushing anxiety. And once I started planning on Fridays, I no longer had that panic, that stress, because I knew Friday that I'd made a plan Sunday morning that I could just sort of hit the ground running on Monday. So there are so many reasons for Friday planning. So with that, I usually encourage you guys. I've got my little cup of coffee, loving the pivot right now, and open my windows, enjoying the Tennessee sun, and just try to make it a good experience for you. I personally like to do my planning in the morning, but sometimes, life happens and my planning session happens at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So the other thing is part of my journey was creating a planning tool, two planning tools actually. I found that what I needed to have true work-life balance, to be present in my life while still being productive, just didn't seem to exist on the market. And so that sort of was the start of my business and what I created. And one of those tools is sort of a folding weekly planning sheet. And this is something that you can grab a free digital download at origamiday.com, or you can buy a pad of sheets. And I love to have a pad of sheets on hand because it's one less barrier to keep you from having this Friday planning. And so what I like about this is I have this pad of sheets. I can simply peel it off and I'm ready to start my planning. What you can see here is this has Monday through Sunday sort of blocked out. And I'm going to acknowledge that plans are changing right now. So it's probably a little scary to plan for an entire week in advance when we're kind of just taking it one day at a time. So I still recommend doing a full week of Friday planning. But what I recommend is planning in pencil because our plans definitely are up for changing right now. And there's a great resource in Brian Tracy, and he has proven time and time again that 10 minutes of planning is going to save us 2 hours of wasted time. And I don't know about you guys, but and that's per day. I could use an extra 2 hours each day. So I love to be efficient with my time. And that is one of the reasons that I love planning. And I'll go ahead and say this too. I believe in being productive, and I think that's something that's amazing for us to do. But I'm coming from this as a reformed workaholic, and part of why I love planning is because of the reality that our time is finite, and so we really can't make any more time in each day. So one of the benefits that comes with planning is being able to get more done with less, and it frees up more of our days to spend with our loved ones, or going to UT football games, or doing things that are really meaningful for us. So I can't say enough: planning, planning, planning. So how the heck do we do that? So the other tool that I created that sort of feeds into this weekly planning is a 14-month calendar and a notebook in one. And so what I encourage people to do, and I'll kind of give you a glimpse of my calendar, is if you plan on a month view, it really prevents you from overbooking, because the boxes are only so big and you can only fit so much stuff in each day. Again, the reality of our time as a concept is infinite. Time as it pertains to our lives is finite. So I love doing this because past me was really notorious for sort of overbooking. So with that, you'll want in your month view calendar, and if you're doing this digitally, you can still do that. Pull up your digital calendar, whether it's Outlook or Google, and look at what you have coming down the pipe for next week. Okay. And so next week we start with April 6th is our Monday. So I would look and see, what do I have set for sure? So the steps of planning, because I'm giving you guys a ton of information, but I'll break it down this way. Step one is start with what you know. And I'm going to take a pause here because it looks like there's a lot of stuff happening in this comment stream. Okay, good, good, good. No questions. Okay, so step one, what do you know for sure? And so what I mean by that is, do you have set appointments? Do you have set phone calls in times that are not right now? Is it picking up your children from school, or maybe it's participating weekly in church? What are those things that happen at a set time? And that is what you want to start with. And that there may be things that happen week after week, and there may be things that happen sort of this week, but maybe not next week. Another thing I do want to share is, when you make your plan for the week, I strongly recommend merging personal and professional into one plan. We have a lot of things on us these days. We're very connected. We're very overstimulated. And so I just personally am of the mindset that we don't need more things to manage. So for that reason, I like to have one plan, and this is all I need to know for the entire week. And it really is a good way to sort of blend work-life balance. And I think when we put them both on the same plan, it helps us to look at both of them and respect both of them, versus sometimes when you plan your work things, then you just try to fill life gaps on the side, and that is kind of when life doesn't happen. So all this to say, start with what we know. So I'm going to look at my next week, and I'm going to go ahead and start with what I know for sure. Well, I know that Monday, by the way, I have almost nothing on my calendar because I'm a huge believer in not taking meetings Mondays and Fridays. It helps me ramp up for my week, and it helps me wrap up my week. So if you have the ability to do that, especially right now while you're working from home, try to hold both of those days for sort of planning, administrative time, whatever you need to do to be productive in the meat of the week. And for the most part, most people are happy to not have a Monday or Friday meeting. So when we go back to sort of life after COVID-19, that's hopefully something you can keep, and you can keep doing. So my first commitment is a phone call Tuesday at 9:30. So I'm going to write that down on my sheet. Call with Chris. Then the next thing I have is a webinar at 12:30, sharing how to stay productive during this time. So if anyone can make it, it is a free webinar. Okay. And then 2:45, I have a recurring news segment with Living East Tennessee, one of our local TV shows, sharing some sort of tips for staying productive. And then at 4:30 that day, I have a meeting with my church. So I'm going to show you guys what I just did there. You can see I did my set appointments. I did them in the order which they might occur. We have our morning down to our afternoon, and I merged personal, professional all in one spot. Again, it's not rocket science, but it's something that not all of us were taught. So I do want to share those tips with you. So the next day, and by the way, this is something you want to do every week. For each day, the next day, I have Wednesday, I have a call, and then I have another webinar. It is webinar season, isn't it? And I will go ahead and tell you guys this. One of the things that you can do when you sort of lay out your plan each week is take advantage of the natural circadian rhythms that we have and the natural flows that we have. As humans, we work off of energy. And so managing your energy is one of the best ways to manage your productivity and manage your time. So there's a really phenomenal author out there, blinking on his name right now, Daniel Hink, I think it is. And he really talks a lot about how our chronobiology impacts our peak time. All of this to say, what you need to know is what is your peak performance time? And for me, that's first thing in the morning. So what I like to do is I try not to schedule too many things before lunchtime so that I can reserve my peak productivity time to do my difficult tasks, which for me usually involve sitting behind a computer, or maybe writing things or dealing with numbers or proposals. And so I would encourage you to think about what are the hard things that you have to do and what is the peak performance time that you naturally have, and try to merge those two. And especially right now, while we're working from home and a lot of people maybe have spouses to work with and kids, maybe have a conversation with whoever you're cohabitating with and say, what is your peak performance time and what is mine? And if they are the same, consider how you guys might divvy up the week with maybe childcare, pet care, whatever that looks like, so that you each have some dedicated focus time in your peak productivity space. Or maybe if you have different peaks, then take advantage of that and say, cool, I'm going to take care of the kids during your peak time and you're going to take care of the kids during my peak time, and we're all going to ride off into the sunset. So all that to say, little tip for you, peak productivity time is huge, and setting aside time to do your tough stuff during your peak time is critical. So back to this planning. I'm going to, for the sake of our time, I won't finish out my whole week, but the point here is what I want you guys to see is we can see once our items are set, there's white space. And that's one of the reasons, again, that I firmly believe planning in smaller boxes on a written calendar, because it keeps us from overbooking. A digital calendar will let us book infinitely, but we really can't execute everything always in one day. So what I really like about when the boxes are only this big, it actually makes it a little bit better, because then when you move to a box that's this size, you have more space. So the next step after you kind of start with what you know is to then fill that white space with what you hope to do. So this is your to-do items, tasks, maybe traction projects, maybe it's stuff around the house. Again, work-life balance is the goal here. We want to put both of these things on your weekly plan. And what I like to do is I always mark my tasks or my to-do items with a star, so that over the years I've trained my brain to look for a star. So if I see my plan, I know that's important. I need to pay attention to that. So I'm going to go ahead and say Monday during my peak performance time, I really need to work on a project that I have been kind of dragging my feet on. And if I write it down, I have the next 4 days to mentally prepare for it. And I've noted it on my peak time on Monday with a star. Then I know I have a couple things on, let's see, Tuesday. I want to go ahead and make sure I do my prep on Monday for my Tuesday news segment, just sort of a last minute prep. So the other thing that's great about weekly planning is it really shifts us from a position of reacting to a position of being proactive. And so that's something I really want to encourage people to move towards, is a proactive lifestyle. So instead of Tuesday at noon, me realizing that I have to go do something at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, I realize it now on Friday, and I have days to get ready for it. And I can schedule that time to go ahead and execute that. And again, sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and put on Friday morning, I'm going to make a reminder that my task is to make my plan for next week. And so once I have everything set out, and you can kind of see, again, recap, the set times, and then fill the blank space with the tasks that you want to do. And then this particular tool is designed so that you can fold it down, and then you're really only looking at 1 day at a time. Now, that works for me, and this is my tool of choice. But at the end of the day, what we've just talked about should help you guys with planning in any tool that you use. The key here is plan on paper if you can. Write everything out, look at a whole week so you're not sort of blindsided. And again, now I wake up Monday morning and I know exactly what I need to do. I want to do this. And then the beauty of it too is I get to cross it off when it's done. I get a natural endorphin release and I kind of feel like a rock star. And I don't know about you guys, but during this turbulent time, I could take the wins. So that is sort of the tips for planning, how we can do a weekly plan. And oh, the last thing I actually will share is once you have this plan in place, especially right now where we're all sort of segmented and in our own homes, then you should digitally reinforce. This is the term I like to use. Digitally reinforce anything that someone else needs to know. So, for example, the webinar. Have I made sure that the people who are participating have the link? My 9:30 Tuesday phone call. Does that person know what our agenda is to discuss? So I strongly recommend digitally reinforcing with a digital calendar or an email, communicating that information that someone else needs to know or information that needs to be readily accessible, getting that into the hands of the other people that need it. And that will skyrocket your productivity. I don't know about you, but past me used to have a hard time with I'd show up somewhere and I'm like, wait, which door do I go in? Which parking lot? And so this really helps not just now, but sort of long term to make sure that you have all the information that you need where you need it. Okay, I'm glancing at comments. Do we have any questions? Okay, how do you deal with curveballs and handle interruptions that sometimes throw us off track? Yeah, so the thing about planning is plans always change. So there's a lot of different ways that you can deal with that. The biggest thing is one of my friends once shared with me, shoot the snakes closest to you first. And I love that. It's kind of the same way that we would say our 7 habits of highly effective people, first things first. So when things shift, it's a great opportunity to just pause, recalibrate, and reassess what is critically important in your life and in your career. If you're not sure what that is, talk with your supervisor or review your job description and really try to figure out if everything fell away, what is the one critical thing? If I only get one thing done, what is that? And sort of prioritize that. And that can be tough. I think mindset helps too for us to all know right now that things are happening, plans are going to change. And so if you need any additional support, by the way, and this is something for everyone on here, please let me know. I love to help people through this time. I already mentioned my business is called Origami Day. You can find it at origamiday.com or my Origami Day on all the social channels. I do a ton of free stuff, free Q&As, free webinars right now. And like I said, you can get a free weekly planning sheet at origamiday.com. And hopefully that's something that will help you guys with your weekly planning. Do we have any other questions? I don't want to keep you guys too long. I want to be respectful of your precious time and hopefully give all of you the chance to start your Friday planning session. No, I think we're good. Okay. Well, then I'm going to wrap us up here. Again, my name is Samantha Lane, proud alumni for the University of Tennessee College of Communication and Information. And thank you guys so much for joining me. Please keep in touch. Again, Samantha Lane, my Origami Day, and I look forward to hopefully helping all of you guys through this crazy time. Oh, hold on. We have one more question. I see you. I see you. Do you ever take days off from planning, giving yourself a break from planning? Oh my gosh, great question. Okay. So I plan for rest and I plan for recharging my batteries. So especially right now while things are crazy, I will work into my plan, honestly, time to do nothing, because what I learned is if I didn't plan for it, I never did it. And so I strongly recommend, for me, I do nothing on Sunday. Sunday is really my day that I recharge. And usually on Saturday, it's kind of the same. I also like to pick one day during the week where I schedule a little bit lighter. So yes, I do take days off, but not from planning. I plan for those days off. So I strongly recommend trying that practice, because otherwise, again, you shift back to reacting and it really takes away it reduces the likelihood that you're actually going to be able to enjoy that time off. I know that might sound crazy, but really freedom comes from planning, and planning for freedom and planning for that space and that recharge is key. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions. Okay, what tips would you give to those struggling with the new norm of working remotely? Ooh, such a good question. So there's a lot there. And thankfully, that is also the content of Tuesday's webinar. So Tuesday, I'm doing a another webinar. So feel free to check out the social channels and you'll get all the details for that. And we're specifically talking about how to stay productive during this. But I'll give you a couple quick tips. One is if you can't plan for a whole week, make sure before you end today, you have a game plan for tomorrow. And that will help. Plan for buffer time. So let's say you're used to working an 8-hour day, just plan 6 hours of that day and leave 2 hours worth of work time for whatever you can plan for whatever that chaos is. And then I would also encourage you to communicate expectations to people. So whether that's people on your team, your boss, but also people working in your space. One of my favorite things during this time has been the earbud rule. So if you are in a shared space or working with kids or a spouse, 2 earbuds in means you're busy. Maybe come back later. 1 earbud means, hey, I'm working, but what do you need? And no earbuds means I'm open, come talk to me. So just that kind of stuff really helps to stay productive. And if you haven't already, create a separate space to work because boundaries are really key. So there's that for you, Christine. Let's see, whatever else. Shoot the snakes closest to you. I love that one too. Okay. I was wondering if you have any advice for balancing kids at home and work during this time. I sure do. So I kind of mentioned that earbud rule is a good one if your kids are old enough to understand that, which most kids, if they're walking, they understand earbuds or not. The other thing is I already acknowledged peak time. So with peak time, what I would encourage you to do is I'm not an advocate for overdoing screen time, but let's be real. Right now, screen time's happening. So what if instead of just kind of letting screen time happen whenever, we strategically plan our screen time? And so what if that screen time happens during your peak productivity time? And then at the very least, you have a couple hours maybe where your kids are sort of focused and doing their things that they want to do while you are able to really head down and get a lot more work done with a lot less work. It's a concept called flow. So Google that. And reaching flow is kind of how we stay. It's really the best way that we can get more done with less. It's reaching this state of higher productivity for less input. So ideally, that would be one of the tips I would give to you is strategically plan your time where your kids are sort of focused in their tasks and do that in a time when you can really execute at your highest level. Okay, earbud rule from Jordan likes it. Awesome. Okay, any other questions? I feel like we're already at 20 minutes and I just don't want to steal your morning away from you, especially for you morning productivity time people. All right, last call for questions. No? Okay. So I think we're good. And again, to kind of recap, there was so much stuff we covered, but the quick recap on planning is do it every Friday. I strongly recommend planning on paper. Origami Day weekly sheets are amazing. Start with what you know for sure. Fill gaps with what you hope to do, and digitally reinforce. And again, my name is Samantha Lane. I help people with time management for productivity and work-life balance. Please don't be a stranger. My business is called Origami Day. You can find me at My Origami Day. I am a super proud Tennessee alum, and also I would encourage everyone, if you are not connected right now to UT, which hopefully you are because that's how you're on the stream, but if your information isn't up to date in the alumni database, if you're not getting emails, you can get broad emails or you can get college specific emails. I recommend doing that. Also, by the way, Tennessee did not pay me for this. This is just my opinion. I believe we should all stay connected to our big orange alma mater. Okay, I think we're good. No more questions. Thank you guys so much for joining. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, and stay safe. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.